Greyhawk Grognard here. If you like the video, please make sure to like and subscribe. Hit the bell so you get notified. You know, all that other good stuff that all the channels say. And feel free to visit my blog and my Patreon. Links are down below. Now, enjoy the show. Hey everybody, Greyhawk Grognard here. I know, 2 videos in 1 week, the world is coming to an end! Well, it is 2020, so what can you expect? Anywho, one of my supporters over on Patreon asked me a question, and I thought it was an interesting enough question that I wanted to answer it as a video, because I thought it might be interesting for other people. And what he asked was, how would I... if I was not bound by the constraints of canon, how would I take Greyhawk forward? What would I do with Greyhawk circa 1985, when Gary had left it in terms of the published works? How would I approach it from that standpoint? And I thought it was a great question, and I wanted to share it with the rest of you. And the simple answer is I would probably do what I've been doing on my blog. I would take things forward both in the timeline and geographically, but really, really slowly. And what I mean by that is, those wonderful events in the world of Greyhawk magazine articles that we saw in Dragon way back in the day that were written by Gary Gygax and Rob Kuntz, and which I then expanded in my own blog. Those are the kinds of things that Gary himself was using to advance the timeline. So people who are, against, we should never advance the timeline. Well, Gary was doing it himself in the pages of Dragon magazine. And the way it was done was really cool because it wasn't a lot of, nitty-gritty detail. It was sort of this high-level stuff that would happen as the background. There's armies moving here. There's rumors of this ship that sighted this here. These pirates are doing stuff here. It's all very high level, even though there are still a lot of very interesting little nuggets and tidbits of detail that you can use to kind of jumpstart into an adventure if you wanted to as the DM, which of course is the genius of the World of Greyhawk setting in general, is that it has this high-level detail, but it's always sprinkled with these really fine and very imaginative and very evocative details that aren't really explained and don't have to be because they're just, they're just throwing them out a little bit here and there. Oh yeah, here's in the Sea of Black Ice, there's these bugbears with blue fur or whatever it is. I don't. But it's those little tidbits that are scattered about in these larger tableau type of pieces that really make the setting come alive and make it not only useful for the DM but also interesting for the players. So you could have there's armies moving around in Sundi in South Province and Medigia, and if you were running a campaign, a regular D&D campaign down in that region, there would be that backdrop of all these armies moving around, and there's all this intrigue happening, and but then again, then you get these little really cool details, like, this noble insulted the Lord of the Dwarves and said his beard was too long or something like that. You have those little details that kind of pop and bring it alive, and that's what I would do, and that's what I've been doing. On my blog, I've continued that series of articles. Of course, they didn't manage to make it all the way around the Flyness in the 80s when they were originally writing them, Gygax and Kuntz. But I continued them and I finished them off. I did Kaeland and the periphery around the Flyness and some other places that hadn't been touched yet. What I would probably do then is start over, because what Gygax and Kuntz and later me in my own small way did was advance the timeline from 576, which is when the Gazetteer and the Gold Box and the original folio were set, and advance them to 577 and 578. So you have a little bit of movement there. That took them years to make that to do those 2 years of in-game time. I would continue that. I would probably do another 579 and 580, another complete spin around the entire Flanaess. But in addition to that, I would expand the detailed area that you're talking about. And again, just like I did with the Backloonish, on my blog, I've got a whole section of articles of the Backloonish Pantheon, and there's an expansion of the Gazetteer, and there's a whole and there's new classes and things like that. I would do that for other areas of Oric, the continent, west of the Flanaess. And I would just keep doing that, and I would keep doing both. So, for example, what I'm working on right now is a bunch of material on Zahindia, which is the pseudo-India section of the world of Greyhawk, which is south and west of the Sea of Dust. So I would do the same thing. I would have a Gazetteer expansion. I would have a map insert. I would have a whole big thing on the Pantheon and go into all the gods. There would be new classes, but I would do them very slowly. I would kind of roll them out in the magazine, and eventually, obviously, if it was a gaming company, all that material would be collected and later done into a hardbound book, like they did with Unearthed Arcana. If you'll remember, those of us who were alive, if you'll remember, when they had things like the Cavalier as a new class and the Thief Acrobat and all those new weapons, all that appeared in Dragon Magazine originally. And what they did was they kind of just bundled it all together and put it into Unearthed Arcana. That's probably how I would approach the expansion of the world of Greyhawk. Do a whole bunch of stuff in the magazine, a bunch of articles, flesh everything out, and then bundle it all together and turn it into a book. And then while you're in the process of doing that, you're still doing events of the world of Greyhawk. But as you're going, that the area that's covered by those events articles is expanding, right? So it's going to take longer to cover the same material, because now you're not only doing the core Flanaess, you're now doing the core Flanaess and the Backloonish countries. And then you're doing not only those two, but you're also doing Zahindia. And eventually you're going to get to the Celestial Imperium of Sufang, and on and on and on. So eventually you're going through the whole world. So there's a natural break in there. There's a natural slowing down of the process of expanding the timeline, because you're doing more and more geography as you're doing it. And I really like that. I like that there's a natural break in there, and it's going to actually take more years of real time to describe the going forward in game time. And I like that. I like that it gives the DM time to catch up to what's going on. And I also really like the idea that you keep it very light. You just give enough detail to be evocative and inspirational, just like the original folio and the later gold box. You don't really need to go into more detail than that in the magazine articles. And then you have these other events in the World of Greyhawk articles that kind of fill in some of that grand tableau with the really cool, there's a whole bunch of little details in there that any DM could pick up and run with. But you don't need to flesh them all out. And then there's, of course, going to be adventures. There have to be adventures published. But I would really try to keep them as location-based adventures, because all the classic stuff, yes, it is set in a particular year, kind of sort of based on when it was published, but you have things like the Lost Caverns of Chajkanth, you've got the Giants and the Drow series, you've got, the Tomb of Horrors and White Plume Mountain and things like that. Those aren't really dependent on the activities that are going on in the world itself. The Giants and Drow modules are more so than the others. But I would probably keep the emphasis away from plot-related adventures and keep the emphasis on location-based adventures. Specifically because it gives the DM more freedom, right? Because, Tomb of Horrors, it doesn't matter if you're personal campaign is in 576 or 591. Tomb of Horrors is pop, it just goes wherever it needs to go. And those are the kinds of adventures that I personally think are most useful for the DM, because they're the kinds of things that, in my campaign, we didn't have the Greyhawk Wars and things went over in this direction. So, all those other modules that are really plot dependent, and, if they don't make any sense, if Ayuz hasn't conquered the bandit kingdoms, and, if the hierarchs are gone, it doesn't make any sense to do this. You don't have that problem anymore, because everything is kind of self-contained, because it's a location. It's not based into the larger plot. So, long way of saying that's how I would approach things. I would continue slowly doing the events in the World of Greyhawk articles. I would slowly then build out the areas that are covered, and probably there would be books or box sets that would support that once all that stuff had been originally published. And then I would continue with the publication of location-based adventures that aren't so dependent on having followed the established timeline so perfectly. So anyway, I hope that really helps. I hope that was interesting. But what I would really love to hear is all you guys, because hey, there's a little bit of celebration here. 300 subscribers, which is a bit of a milestone. Yay! Can't thank you all enough. That is amazing. It is really appreciated. The mere thought that there are 300 people out there who want to sit and listen to me blather on about Greyhawk for 10 minutes at a stretch, it just makes it. I can't thank you guys enough. So thank you for hitting me, for letting me hit that milestone. But I really want to hear what you guys think. If you were in that same position, how would you, or how have you approached Greyhawk in terms of, do you follow the canon that was laid out with Greyhawk Wars and From the Ashes and after that? Do you just take things in a different direction? Do you kind of meld things together in your own campaign? And not even in your own campaign, but just if you were given the power, how would you approach things? So please let me know in the comments, all that good stuff. And I hope you've enjoyed this. Hope this has been interesting. Just hearing me rant and rave about my dream job of, when I win the lottery, I'll buy Greyhawk, and we'll see about that. But anyway, hope everybody has a great night. Great talking to you, and I really look forward to hearing from you. If you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe, hit the like button, all the good stuff that all the channels say. Hit me on Patreon, visit the blog. All the links are down there. I'm not going to do the hard sell, but have a great night, everyone. Talk to you later.